How the Saints salary cap math could impact Derek Carr and veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to discuss this today. So all the time, and by all the time I mean basically twice a day during my videos, I always mention that the Saints are in kind of a transitionary period. The Saints are firing Dennis Allen more than likely means they're going to start shedding some contracts and potentially Derek Carr to no fault of his own. Relax. Jesus, no one come for me in the comments, okay? I like Derek Carr. Jesus, I like him. But it's a business, all right? And then every day I get comments that say, James, you don't know what you're talking about. Derek Carr signed a blank contract. He's a blank cap hit, whatever. And I always try and say that the cap is fugazi, okay? There's always restructuring. There's always ways to get around it. We just saw, I think the Chicago Bears released an offensive lineman that they signed to a 3-year, $30 million deal like 10 months ago. So it is what it is. But Kat Terrell has written the article. We're going to read some of it, talk about it like only I can do. Before we begin, go follow Kat, okay? Right here, Kat Terrell on Twitter wrote the article, beat reporter for ESPN. Go follow her stuff. Unbelievable article. Let's get right to it, shall we? Now, we know the deal. Okay, let's get down to the good stuff. Now, we know the deal. The Saints are in a salary cap Sudoku puzzle, and they've got to figure out how they can deal with the cap to set themselves up for the upcoming future. Here's a really easy way to look at it. When you are rebuilding and you are trying to shed cap and you're trying to shed contracts and you're trying to get things going for 3, 4, 5 years down the road, if you've got 34-year-old plus players commanding a ton of that cap, you can go ahead and accept they gone. Now, you can go ahead and accept you got a 34-year-old linebacker, a 33-year-old running back, a 35-year-old quarterback, a 33-year-old safety. More than likely, they're gone. And again, to no fault of their own. Sometimes it just is what it is. Sometimes things don't work out. A window is created. That window closes. Teams have to do things. Teams have to let players go. They don't want to, and it happens. Okay, so don't take this as an affront to any of these players. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. The Saints have 6 players over age 30 who represent a huge chunk of their salary cap space next year. All are current or former team captains. Demario Davis, 35. Defensive end Cam Jordan, 35. Tight end Taysom Hill, 34. Quarterback Derek Carr, 33. Tyrann Mathieu, 32. Right tackle Ryan Ramczyk, 30. Okay? It's a lot, right? More than likely, if you want to talk about what the front office is going to do and you want a roadmap of how the Saints kind of get themselves out of this salary cap hole and start to rebuild, this paragraph right here is a good blueprint of what's going to happen. Ryan Ramczyk will retire. Taysom Hill, Cam Jordan probably will retire. Taysom Hill, who knows? Derek Carr, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, those guys, they're going to try and get out of those contracts. The Tyrann Mathieu, Taysom Hill, Derek Carr, Demario Davis. That's just it. They're going to try and get out of them. They're going to try and save their money. Okay? Per NFLPA records, those 6 players, all with questions about age, injuries, or production, are currently scheduled to represent $140 million in salary cap figures next year, about 40% of the approximate $340 million in player salaries and bonuses on the books. All right? The figure includes $48 million in dead money hits from releasing Michael Thomas and quarterback Jameis Winston as post-June 1 cuts in March and trading Marshawn Lattimore another $17.5 million in dead money if the contracts of tight end Juwan Johnson, Tano Casemna, and Chase Young automatically void. Okay? Alrighty. The New Orleans Saints have solved this problem in the past with simple restructures, pushing money into the next year's salary cap. We all know that, well documented. While the team will certainly use this strategy again on some players, here's a look at what the Saints might have to consider with some of the oldest players on the roster. First one, Derek Carr. Derek Carr is in an unfortunate situation because of his age, his monies, the performance of the team this year, and Dennis Allen. He's got all that working against him. Dennis Allen and Derek Carr are tied together, whether you want to believe it or not. They just are. And Derek Carr was brought in to try and save Dennis Allen's career, try and save what was going on in New Orleans. Again, are the Saints 3-7 because of Derek Carr? No, absolutely not. But they are 3-7. Okay? The experiment is over. 2 years, 2 expensive years. He ain't getting any younger, and it's only getting more expensive. So let's take a look at what's going to happen. All right, we'll skip all the way down. We know the whole Carr Allen thing. Carr is signed with the Saints for 2 more seasons, year 3, year 4, and is guaranteed a $10 million roster bonus next year. All right, remember that number. His $30 million base salary becomes fully guaranteed on the 3rd day of the 2025 league year. Trivia. What do you think the Saints are going to do before that 3rd day of the 2025 league year? You don't have to answer out loud. Just think about it. That means the Saints won't be heading into training camp next season uncertain if Carr is their guy. They'll need to make a decision by the time free agency period begins. Restructuring Carr's contract will only make a $61 million problem in 2026 even worse. New Orleans could designate Carr as a post-June 1 release, accounting for only $21.458 million in 2025 and $28.6 million next year. The Saints can only use this option on 2 players. It allows the player to be released before June 1 and enter free agency without having to wait until the actual posted date, while the team can spread out the salary cap hit over 2 years instead of 1. Now, the Saints could forge ahead with the $50 million figure by moving ahead with Carr in 2025 without restructuring or negotiating pay cut in 2025, or by giving him a standard release and absorbing $50 million to the 2025 salary cap. Y'all think that's going to happen? The final decision on Carr will come down to multiple factors, and the next coach is one of them. Kinda. How he finishes 2024 can have an impact, but their evaluation of the younger quarterbacks on the roster could also play a role, as well as their draft position. True. I'll go ahead and explain this. If the next coach comes in and wants his own guy, Carr's out. If the Saints struggle down the stretch, Carr's out. If they feel good about Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler, Carr's out. If they have a high draft pick and want to take a quarterback, Carr's out. 2025 cap hit $51 million. Post June 1 release cap savings $30 million. Standard release cap savings $1.3 million. What do y'all think's going to What do y'all think is going to happen here? Which one of these sounds like the most likely? Option B? What do y'all think? Ryan Ramczyk. I'll go ahead and tell you what's going to happen. Ramczyk's going to retire. All right? He will retire. Ramczyk hasn't played a game since 2023 because of degenerative knee issues and was placed on the season-ending physically unable to perform list. He's under contract for 2 more seasons, but has no guaranteed money remaining on his contract, and retirement might be an option because of the nature of the injury. Yes. So he had to stay on the contract. He had to stay on the contract this year because of the guaranteed money, and they couldn't release him or it'd be a cap hit. They couldn't take on another cap hit because they already released Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas. So they basically paid him to stay on the team. And the second he is done with that, which will be the end of this season, he's going to retire. Go ahead and tell you what's going to happen there. Cam Jordan. Jordan, 35, signed a 2-year extension. The defensive end only has 3 sacks. Yep. He has not discussed his future, but is due $12.5 million in base salary in the final season of his contract, with $1.5 million guaranteed. The $12.5 million becomes guaranteed if he's still on the roster the 3rd day of the 2025 league year. What do y'all think is going to happen? What do y'all think is going to take place right here? Ladies and gentlemen, it ain't rocket science, okay? It's not, oh, he's doing this, or oh, he has these numbers, or oh, the legacy, or oh, blah, 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 blah. It's this right here. This is telling you everything you need to know. New Orleans restructured Jordan's contract so many times, he has $22.485 in prorated signing bonuses remaining. If the Saints were to part ways with Jordan, the best way would be to designate him one of the 2 post-June 1 releases so that they would only account for $9 million in 2025. So you got 3 options. 2025 cap hit, $20 million. Standard release, none. Post-June 1st release cap savings, $11 million. On to Taysom. Hill will be the oldest skill position on the team, skill position player. Hill will be the oldest skill position on the team if he is on the roster next year. Blah, blah. He is due $10 million in base salary in 2025, the final year of his contract. Remember, a lot of these contracts, Cam Jordan included, are naturally expiring in 2026. Okay, we keep mentioning 2026 is a big year because these older guys, like they can kind of maneuver out of the contracts, like with Carr and Jordan. We've already seen that. A lot of other contracts will just naturally take care of themselves in 2026. The Saints are not going to be able to fix all of their issues in one off season. So it's going to be this year and next year will be a joint effort to try and clear the books and get back to kind of a cap, cap heaven compared to cap hell. Hill's future feels up in the air like Carr's, as a new coaching staff might not approach his usage yet. True. The Saints struggled offensively once Hill got hurt. True. New Orleans could approach Hill about a pay cut in the last year of his contract to provide cap relief. This sounds like what will happen. It sounds like they'll keep Taysom around because he is important to the team, and they'll probably, and they'll more than likely restructure. Remember, you can only have so many players as the June release. So I think Taysom sticks around. I think they probably do this. They restructure it, cash bonuses, back end. You know how it works. So that's what I think will happen with Taysom. This would be the most ideal option for New Orleans, as outright releasing him would provide minimal savings. Yeah, outright releasing him provides $277,000. What are you going to do, right? Demario Davis. Davis is signed through the 2025 season. Remember, 2026, natural expirations. We've already seen Cam Jordan. We've already seen Taysom Hill. We've already seen Demario Davis, all on that 2026 track. He's guaranteed at least $4.25 million in guaranteed base salary and roster bonuses. This is because of a pay cut he took. Blah, blah, blah. The Saints would have $17.2 million in dead money if they release Davis, and no cap savings is an outright release. Okay, then they're not going to release him then. Savings would only come from another cut to his base salary, unlikely 2 seasons in a row, a negotiated retirement, or a post-June 1st release. Okay. 2025 cap hit, $12 million. Standard release, we just went over that, none. Post-June 1st release cap is cap savings is $4 million. So with Davis, it sounds like he's either going to play or they have to negotiate a restructurement. I guess somehow restructure the retirement. Sounds to me like he'll play, unless he does retire. But I think he'd probably play. Tyrann Mathieu. Mathieu also agreed to less money in 2024 in exchange for adding more years to his contract. He is guaranteed at least $3.5 million in base salary and roster bonuses in 2025, which means the Saints would absorb $14.8 million in dead money by releasing him outright. Okay, doesn't sound awesome. Okay, let's see. The Saints have a potential replacement, Jordan Howden, but they could decide to keep Mathieu another year. His current base salary is $6.25 million and cap hit of 11. Okay, that's sounding a little bit more realistic. How long does Mathieu want to keep playing? He hasn't said for sure, although he has expressed an interest in coaching after he retires. So 2025 cap hit, $12 million. Standard release, none. Post-June 1 release cap savings, 3.7. So it sounds like Mathieu will play too. So and then that is the article right there. So just looking at this, the writing seems to be on the wall for Derek Carr, Ryan Ramczyk, Cam Jordan. Taysom, Demario, and Tyrann all seem to be back next year. Taysom would be restructured. Demario's back unless he wants to retire. Tyrann's back unless he wants to retire. That's it. It's that simple. Like when you're looking at the Sudoku puzzle of, what are the Saints going to do? This is nice and easy. It's a nice and easy explanation of exactly how they're going to approach this, what they have to do, and what their options are. And again, is it any of these guys' fault that the Saints are where they are? No. But you push money back into a window to try and extend that window. When the window slams shut and you have an opportunity to reset, that opportunity comes with a losing record, high draft pick. The Marshawn Lattimore, I've said this, and I'll say it again. Trading Marshawn Lattimore for picks is all you need to know. You do not trade him for picks unless you are telling everybody, we're getting younger, we're getting cheaper, we're going to try and rebuild through the draft and get out of these contracts. You don't trade Marshawn for picks and then say, we'll re-sign Derek Carr for $50 million right in our face. Yeah. No, not going to happen. So we'll see. I mean, All of this seems pretty clear to me. Now, this is me relatively hypothesizing, and I could be wrong. I never am, but I could be wrong. So hopefully this clears up some of the questions of like, well, what are they going to do with a lot of these players, and what are they going to do with the cap? And you know, these numbers aren't exact because just like Taysom's, like he'll get restructured. So if he gets restructured, some of those numbers move around a little bit. So keep that in mind as well. But I think regardless of how the Saints finish, the only thing that it really dictates of how the Saints finish is the actual pick, the pick in the draft. Beyond that, I think regardless of how they finish, well, I guess a good finish could keep Rizzi around as well. But as far as the roster, I think you're going to see a ton of turnover. I think you're going to see a lot of these veterans gone pecan. Certainly within the next 2 years, but probably within this offseason as well. So, transitionary period for the New Orleans Saints. Exciting at a certain extent that they're embarking on a new chapter. So, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Did you learn something today? Were you surprised at these numbers? Do you have any questions? Or do you fully believe now, man, the salary cap, maybe it is all fugazi? Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in the next video.